of all, let me thank the participants on the video. That was quite overwhelming. Minister Duguid, Mayor McCallion, honored guest, Chair of Life Sciences, Ontario, Mr. Jason Laughlin, along with his board, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great privilege for me to be recognized with individuals whom I respect and admire, such as Deputy Minister George Ross, Dr. Peter Singer, and Mr. John Kelly. I'd also like to express my gratitude to all of you for being here tonight. I'm honored by your presence. My particular appreciation to the Gala Committee under the very capable hands of its chair, Mr. Alan Odette. Thank you, Alan. When the request to become the recipient of your Lifetime Achievement Award was made, I was truly honored. I would not have deemed myself as a candidate as I knew of the past individuals who have been recipients and of their individual contributions. In particular, such leaders as Dr. Cal Stiller, who is my good friend and whom you honored last year, as well as past honorees, Dr. John Dirks, Dr. Alan Bernstein, Dr. Lou Seminovich, Dr. Henry Friesen, Dr. John Evans, each one a giant. I've had the great privilege of working very closely with each one of these individuals and to be included with them, and that you would think me worthy is most humbling. Canada, our great country, allows for the integration of immigrants and their children and for them to flourish. And tonight is a wonderful example of how our country, our province, and our city allowed this to happen. My father came to this country in 1927 from a small farm town in Poland, where on arrival he could not find a job. He had to enter into a competition at no compensation for 3 weeks at a mattress factory. He was tested against 2 other people for a 3-week period to determine who was the best sweeper. The owner offered the job to someone else. My dad was not chosen. His brother's advice was to rent a small cart, which he did, and he pushed that cart with a full load of coal from the Cherry Beach coal docks to Dundas and Spadina, which was referred to then as the Kensington Ghetto. This provided the heating fuel for the homes and the stores. To ensure one understands the context of what I'm saying, my father often repeated to me and to my sisters that his greatest accomplishment in business was the day he was able to buy a horse. That horse allowed to pull a cart instead of him having to push one. He went on to buy 1 coal truck and then several. Therefore, you can appreciate how significant your recognition is to me, and I wish my father were here to see it happen. In the early 60s, after Sandy and I returned from New York, where I studied business and economics, I became a teacher at the University of Toronto. I worked part-time in the family business, while at the same time trying to complete my PhD dissertation. I learned that I would be a modest, at best, success as an academic, because in writing the thesis, I found research in writing was not a great skill of mine or a great strength. I decided to embark on a business career instead and left academia and went on to become an entrepreneur in many different industries. I had learned very early that business people must play a broad role in society in order to make the free enterprise system work efficiently and effectively. And business leaders must see themselves as a key part of our overall societal system. Therefore, when I turned 60 in 1995, I decided that it was time to do something else. It wasn't that I was unhappy or that I was bored with business. In fact, I loved business, and I had a great time, and I was very, very lucky. However, I just decided it was time to consider doing something different and chose public service for what I refer to as the second half of my life. I became involved in health research, which led me into the public policy of health research, and to then become very active in the innovation for Canada and our province of Ontario. These last 17 years of my background have led to tonight. I would therefore like to use this opportunity to ask for your help, because many of you here are deeply involved in the innovation agenda. I enlist your support and action for the expert panel report called Innovation Canada Calls to Action, referred to as the Jenkins Report. I urge this group's support by writing to Minister Goodyear and your MPs to ensure that the innovation agenda is moved forward quickly and aggressively. Further study is not needed. I particularly want to acknowledge the panel's recognition that innovation is much broader than science and technology, and it is that business innovation is the principal source of productivity improvement and job growth in the long run. There is a difference between invention and innovation, which is recognized clearly in the Jenkins Report. If we, as a province and as a country, are to compete effectively in today's global marketplace, business leaders must certainly represent their own companies, as is logical. But as leaders of these companies, they must also recognize and fight for our country and our province through the decision-making process within their respective companies. I'm pleased to say that I've experienced this balance among many of the multinational company leaders. On his recent retirement notice, I would like to mention in particular my friend and colleague, Mr. Paul Lucas. I've worked with him on public policy since 2000. He is a great role model for the CEOs of multinationals in terms of their responsibilities to their country, Canada, and to their province of Ontario. I have also seen the pride of leaders in homegrown entities acting to help our country and province succeed. My personal priority from all the recommendations of the panel report, and the one which I ask and table for your consideration and hopeful involvement, is the creation of the Industrial Research and Innovation Council, IRIC. There has been over the years a consistent and strong view that there is a need for a better overall management and coordination mechanism in order to ensure more effectiveness across the 60 different federal programs the panel considered. The Jenkins Report is proposing the establishment of an independent IRIC to become, and I quote, the common service platform for all appropriate federal business innovation support programs. Therefore, if there is one issue for us all to address, it is to encourage the creation of the IRC. The Wilson Report recommended a similar body in 2010. The report I tabled for the federal government in 2007, called People and Excellence, suggested the creation of a commercialization partnership board. Therefore, IRRC is needed. I do not have time to talk of tax credits, procurement, although the minister and I did make reference to them in our personal discussion at dinner, or risk capital from the report. But by focusing our efforts on the one proposal that I believe more progress will be made than through any other approach. If we can get the creation of the IRRC, as the Jenkins Reports recommended, things will move. Calling for the creation of the IRRC Council can only be successful if public-spirited business leaders are deeply involved in this process and in this council to influence the direction and success of innovation and commercialization activities and programs. This belief of mine goes back to my studies of business and economics, but has been strongly reinforced and influenced by my experience in working within the innovation agenda over the last 17 years. In In particular, this view has been verified by my personal experience with CEOs like Paul, both in multinational companies and Canadian-based entities. Action is essential to modernize and integrate academia, government, and business for our innovation-based companies. The creation of the IDRC is the strongest and most effective outcome that will move this agenda forward. Minister Douglas was kind enough to express to my wife the understanding that I would not be standing here without her. And I thank you for being so sensitive for doing that, because it's the truth. Thank you all very much.
Joe, thank you very much. You're an absolute inspiration, and thank you for all that you've done and all that you do. That brings to a close our evening. Once again, I want to thank all of the sponsors for underwriting a wonderful evening for all of our award winners tonight. And if we could give one more round of applause to each of those winners. And good night. So with that, I will close the evening. Thank you all for your kind support and for being here tonight. The silent auction will close in 5 minutes. Have a safe drive home.
If you're one of the winners of the Orange Dog for the book, you can redeem it at the west entrance where you came in at the registration desk. So if you're one of the lucky winners of Dr. Singer's book, take your decal to the west entrance where you entered the